I want us to focus on something that has been brewing here in Nairobi, and that is the Kibra constituency. After the passing on of Ken Okoth towards the end of July, then we have seen different political parties nominating their candidates that will be taking part in that election. I just want to take a look at what that list is. And we have the Amani National Congress Party will be represented by the former official of ODM, that is Eliud Owalo. Ford Kenya will have Hamisi Butichi. Then the Jubilee Party yesterday decided that they will be fielding MacDonald Mariga, who is a soccer star, and the ODM party is yet to conduct its nominations. It will be doing that on Saturday this week, and they will be picking a candidate from a pool of about 11 candidates who have expressed interest in running their constituency. And I just want to start with those who come from the Jubilee Party. Gladys Boshile, you may not be a Nairobian, but of course you're a member of the Jubilee Party. You have picked a candidate. There was word at the funeral of the funeral service of Ken Okoth that was by Johnson Sakaja, the Senator of Nairobi. He had said that he was going to plead with the party not to field a candidate. I just wonder what gives the Jubilee Party such confidence that they can actually win this particular ticket.
No, I think if you're a political party that is worth its salt, you will field a candidate in every place that you think you should.
In an ODM stronghold?
Yes. But you must remember, with the handshake, I think things have changed a little bit for Jubilee. So I think there isn't too much of, feeling like that Jubilee would be in a completely different zone. And I can confirm that I will be campaigning for Mariga. I am very well known in Kibra. I have spent I've done a lot of work with the Kibra School for Girls and Shofco, so I will be there. And
out of all the Jubilee candidates that you had, are you confident that Mariga is the best option that you could have fronted?
Yes, he's quite well known, I think, and he stands a big chance. I think compared to all the other candidates, he's one that has the best visibility, very well known among the youth, and remember, there's a very high population of young people in Kibra.
Right, but he's going up against Ken Okoth's brother, who perhaps Kibra residents would feel they can relate more to.
Yes, and I think I think what people will be looking at is which candidate resonates more with them, and I think he stands a good chance. I also think maybe Ken's brother, if people feel that he has because remember, people loved Ken. So the thing is, does his brother create the same aspirations as Ken? Okay, that would be the question.
All right. All right, we'll be looking at the story on page 6 of the Daily Nation that shows the Deputy President holding a T-shirt there with MacDonald Mariga at his current office in Nairobi on June 27, 2018. Of course, this had no relationship with the current run. But let's speak to the National Elections Board Chairperson of ODM, that is Judith Pareno. She's also nominated Senator. And Judith, good morning, and thank you for joining the conversation on phone. We are talking about Kibra constituency and the pending party primaries, if I may call them so, this Saturday for ODM. We have a candidate of 11 aspirants. What can you tell us in as far as preparations for that? Because in the past we've seen an attempt to conduct free and fair nominations, but that doesn't really yield to exactly what that would suggest.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to explain to our supporters and those that are interested in the Kibra by-election that as an election board, first of all, you notice that we postponed our primaries from last weekend to now coming to this weekend.
All right.
That is second.
Judith, allow me to cut you short. Kindly reduce the volume on your TV so we'll be able to hear you a bit better.
I'm not on TV. I'm just standing somewhere very open.
Right. Okay.
Maybe the wind from Kajiado, because I'm on my way from Kajiado, so there could be so much wind.
All right.
All right, just carry on, Judith.
Yes, so I'm saying we postponed the nomination exercise because this is one such exercise that cannot go wrong.
Right.
This is one such exercise that we have really prepared to conduct a free and fair exercise. Not that at all times we never prepare to have a free and fair. We have always prepared to have free and fair exercise, but of course a lot of issues arise as you do your nominations. So why we postponed to the 7th is because of the national census that was going on. We needed so much security for purposes of this exercise, just enough security for us to secure the exercise. So they told us that they could not give us security because the census was still going on, which we understood very well. The police explained themselves, and we understood, and we had to consult the ABC and wanted to serve the servants. So that even gave us more time to prepare, though we were even by then. We have so far we have 11 candidates, and I can assure you we are ready, and I'm sure even them are ready because we had a meeting where we vetted all the candidates. We agreed, actually we vetted 20 candidates, and we all agreed that the exercise is free and fair, and we agreed on the rules of engagement between us and our candidates. And thereafter, out of the vetting, some of them decided to negotiate and decided to step aside. So we ended up having 11 who are now ready to run for the exercise, and we are ready for it.
And Senator, of course, you are promising that there'll be free and fair nominations. I remember covering your nominations in the Nyanza region in the year 2017, and the register that was used was that of the voters, the National Voters Register, and not really a register of ODM members. How sure are you that this time round on Saturday you'll be using a register of ODM members? And if that is the case, how many are they? How will you ensure that they are just from Kibra constituency?
I wouldn't say that in Nyanza we never used our register, because remember in Nyanza we have 100% support. So everybody in Nyanza is an ODM person, almost everybody. And we ended up having a register that people thought was an IBC register. We used both the IBC register at that time and our own register, which were almost a replica of each other. And this particular time, we have taken time to also compile our register. Remember, we had compiled our registers before the 2017. So it's just a matter of improving on our register, and we are going to use the registers that as required by our own regulations and even the political parties act.
And is that...
So we'll have a fully compiled register, and we expect everybody to be able to vote.
Senator, is that register verifiable by the candidates to ensure that nobody is from another party and nobody is from a different constituency?
They will be able to see the register. It is a public document that we are going to use, and we actually explain to them on that day, because it's a document, not really a public, but an ODM document that is going to be there at the polling station, and they are able to see.
Right. Senator Zinzi Kibiku here. My last question, perhaps as we wrap it up, is so come Saturday, in terms of planning and in terms of logistics, everything is good to go?
We are good to go. We are using the 180 polling stations that are ABC gazetted polling stations, and we have been assured of security by the security operators that give us enough security personnel, both to to secure security at the polling station, escort of material, and as far as I'm concerned, all the candidates have almost all the candidates have also sent us their agents, so meaning that also ready. And we are going to have a briefing session before the 7th. For the 11 who are running, we're going to also still have a briefing session this week for them to tell us any issues that they want us to address. Remember, we already had a meeting with them. We agreed. Now we want to have another meeting with them where they'll tell us where they think we need to address any issues that will arise. But we are ready, and the candidates are equally ready. For them to be able to have given us even the agents that are going to are going to watch it over the exercise, it means they are also ready.
All right. Thank you so much, Senator.
All right, so back to the panel. And Emilio Diambo, I mean, that's your party. Yes. And so as we prepare for all this, you hear that very interesting comment that in Nyanza region, the party has almost 100% support. Of course, you can argue about that, but...
it's true. In law, there's something we call reciprocity. The facts speak for themselves, really. That's true.
That's all right, but obviously, people will be concerned. Look at the Jubilee Party. They had, I think, 15 or 16 aspirants. Eventually, they say that they did their interviews based on a certain marking scheme that I have seen, and eventually picked Mariga. Now, ODM is still insisting on going to the universal suffrage. Do you think there's that possibility? We have not seen many ODM nominations being free and fair and devoid of chaos and violence. Are you sure we can have that this Saturday?
What I can tell you, in fact, I was whispering to Honorable Gladys, that ODM is always held to a higher standard than every party. If what Jubilee did is what ODM had done, then we would be here talking about how ODM is undemocratic. How can you go behind in boardrooms and pick somebody who is handpicked, who is not from Kibra, whose only repute is probably playing soccer and all that. You would have said that of ODM. But when ODM now wants to go into, you know, universal suffrage, then very quickly we are now branding, always violent, always. That is a fact of every single party that we have all spoken to here before, that because political parties are not sufficiently resourced. Even the government itself, when they are conducting national elections, there will always be cases of violence and all that. Why? Because we don't have ample security, we don't have ample personnel, so there will always be issues that are coming. And this is very highly contested. If you notice, we had even more than 11 candidates. Now at least they've reduced
24
and it's moved now to 11, part of it which was part of negotiations and all that, but even the negotiations only managed to raise 11. So because we believe in democracy, we let people fight it out, whether it will be chaotic or whatever, but let the public have their say. As to whether there will be violence or there will be chaos, that is a fact of lack of resources in this country, and I've said it before, that all political parties do not have the sufficient resources they need to properly conduct party primaries or nominations. Right. That is a fact.
We'll come back on that point.
All political parties.
We'll come back on that point. And
I'm hoping that when we are done with this, that we can speak to the issue of the divorce of Senator Medika.
We'll see if we have that time. But we'll come to tie the points on party primaries and the political party democracy. All right. Daybreak never took a break. The conversation has been going on. I just wish the cameras were on once again. Unfortunately, we never have that, at least not today. But let's tie this topic about political party discipline on to just begin with yourself, and glad you're here. So the concerns are that the political parties are not well resourced, but then again, democracy is the collective desire of the country. So how do you ensure, yes, you have deficiency in terms of resources, but at least when it comes to fairness in terms of how candidates treat each other, how the campaigns are conducted, how do you ensure they are fair to the extent that you can have proper nominations that you yield to the best candidate that has been elected by the people?
Okay, I want to say, first of all, it's important to know that I don't belong to any of their parties, that I'm a Kano member. And I want to join the people who wished Moi yesterday his 95th birthday. That Mzee Moi, may God give you longer life, that you may continue giving us your wise words. And for this particular matter in Kibra, I think I leave it to Jubilee and ODM and ANC and those other ones who have fielded their candidate. But of course, you know, I'm in the handshake. So there's also a possibility that I'll go and support the ODM.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
And not Jubilee?
Yeah, because handshake, they don't like handshakes. So I'm a handshake person. Handshake is really Jubilee. The Jubilee, you know, the Jubilee other side don't like handshake, you know.
Oh, okay.
That is associated, the Jubilee side that is associated with the Mariga. Yeah. So you guys are being unfair.
Now this is divided rule.
The Jubilee side that is associated with Mariga does not like the handshake.
Now, in this case, I wanted to say like this. You know, when we are defining democracy and dictatorship type of leadership, the difference, the line between it is so thin, so that actually when you say democracy, you may not be saying anything much. And that's why in this country, as much as we are really looking for democracy, such that there is some fairness, it is important to also know that there are some favorites for parties. It is true. You know, these are things which are not said in the broad daylight. But sometimes people have reasons as to why they are fielding a certain candidate other than another one.
Okay.
So in that case, sometimes people feel it is not fair, it is not, but you see, a party belongs to some people or somebody.
But is that the best situation?
It would not have been,
how
but you know, that's the ideal.
Okay, let me put it this way.
Yes.
She says that the challenge in this country is that there's no political party that is well resourced, well financed.
True.
So how do you deal with what you call dictatorship and financing from one leader or a clique of leaders? How do you get away from that and have political parties that are well representative of the aspirations of the country?
Alternatively, what we can do is, first of all, give the resources, so that we can differentiate between intentional dictatorship minus not having resources. Because in this case, it's a mixed situation. There is this dictatorship and this is no resources. So people are actually hiding themselves behind the reason of not having resources to actually do their own things. But when we have enough resources, it will be easier to get the unfairness through dictatorship, other than blaming resources.
But you know, we have the political parties fund. So I think ODM got about 400 million this time, isn't it?
No, but you know.
Yeah. So they do have some money, and luckily they got the money, and they've not had any elections.
Yeah, but you see,
which means at least this time I can say they are better resourced for this current nomination.
I do not agree with that, because we have actually gone to court, and the court has decreed that we should be given our monies, you know, for the last backdated. And
but I'm saying when we
get
this one, you have
we were not given money for this nomination. We were given money while we are still waiting for the other monies that we are owed. That means that all our previous obligations, all the debts that we've had, we must still deal with them. So you cannot say that this money that has come will make it easier. It will not.
If you are to
because we still have suppliers that we owe, you know, commitments that we made. So this money will only help us dealing with those past. And therefore, that means that even the money that we currently have may not necessarily be sufficient for this.
So how do you suggest that
how do you run the election?
What we suggest is that the government should
nomination fees.
Yes, people do, but that is still not enough. What I would suggest is that the government needs to ensure that political parties are paid their dues, that you don't have to go to court to ask for that money. Then after that, then we can say whether, you know, are we improving or not. But even without that money, I can assure you, it will help, but it's still not sufficient. Like I can tell you, because I've been involved in 2 competitive, you know, elections directly, and even I was involved with the late Senator Otieno Kajwang. So I've been involved very directly in about 3, you know, competitive elections. And I can tell you that things have improved. They are not perfect, but they have improved. Our previous party process was much better than the one that I went through the first time. So yes, when you get resources, things get better. But we are not there yet.
So Agnes, let me rope you into the conversation. When you talk about the party nominations, we've known the reputation behind party nominations. There's a question of the transparency behind it and how credible it is. So at the end of the day, how do we begin to strengthen transparency within political parties to make sure that party nominations are fair and equal?
You remember, Zinzi, I vied in Gara and I lost at the nomination, so I think I have a very personal experience with the nomination process. But in my view, I believe nominations in Kenya are go to the best candidate, but not best political candidate, the person who can who has the monopoly of violence and chaos. And I think our best solution right now, because we have a struggle of finances, and like what Mheshimiwa Mbili is saying, if they are constrained, if parties are constrained financially, do we have an option? Can we consider having IEBC conduct these elections? Because there are election processes also. If they can do the general elections and the by-elections and everything, can we also have IEBC conduct our party
nominations? Let me simplify for you elections.
You want IEBC to conduct party nominations?
Yes. No, let me explain. Let me simplify for you elections. I've been an election manager, and I think I'm on record as having had the best turnout in our elections when I ran it. All you need for a nomination to happen, this is very simple. In fact, I don't believe there's going to be any, unless the people of Kibra decide to have violence. I don't think there'll be any violence, and I think the elections will run well. One, the party must have registers. They have 180 polling stations. It is not difficult to get a register at every polling station. It is not difficult to make sure that you have 6 clerks at, or corresponding number of clerks at every polling station. That's important. And then most importantly, let the ballot papers be printed and be available on time. And then the government provides security. The elections will be perfect.
So this register...
I am not worried about... I think they will go well. I don't see it going wrong. This
register to be that of the political party or the IEBC National Voters Register?
The thing
Are you talking of the nomination or the election?
I'm talking about the nomination itself.
Okay.
For the nomination to happen, I think it's a very simple issue.
But does what you have suggested, Honorable Shule, is in terms of the event itself, how to carry it out. But does that answer the question of transparency within political parties?
What transparency do you require? If what you need, the only transparency you require is that you have the register. The register is the most important thing.
Which register? Of the party or from IEBC?
The party list or IEBC?
Okay, let me tell you, I've been running elections, so I understand this very well. The thing is that most parties, in fact, actually, truth be told, the one party that I knew when I was at the Electoral Commission that had a real register and a proper register from inception was KANU, surprisingly. Because KANU had offices all over the country. It had been, of course, because of the 24-year rule and all, KANU had a very solid register that was KANU-based. And people had, life certificates and membership for a month or a year, etc.
Right.
Later, when we began to have the electronic register, I know many parties used to do this. They would come and buy the normal register and then go and, make amendments a little bit and say, call it their own register. Many parties did not actually undertake an actual registration, truth be told.
So what is the challenge?
But that was when I was at the Electoral Commission.
List.
And that was when I was at the Electoral Commission. Of course, there were many changes around 2013 where you saw parties were going all out now to try and make sure that they register members. But historically, there has been a challenge. And that's why we have this debate. But like we said, there is nothing, nobody is required to go to the polling station with my Jubilee certificate or membership card. So what happens is you can't really turn anyone away from the polling station because they don't require to show that they are an ODM.
Like Agnes, do you think that party nominations should be done by IBC?
No, the thing, no, I know IEBC sometimes supports where, different types of, like in terms of providing the logistics. Sometimes a party can actually hire the ballot boxes and things, the ballot boxes and so on from IEBC. Sometimes they might ask for a returning officer from IEBC to help them, and that can happen during nomination, especially on this one because there isn't national nominations. It's just one particular place. The IEBC has been known to help at university elections, Court of Appeal elections for a member of the judge. They've also been assisting during the voting of what was it, the LSK nominations also. The elections, they did help, and in fact it says the law actually says that one of the mandate of IEBC is to support in party nominations.
Right. Except
that there has not been a legislation to specifically show the mechanisms of doing that.
Honorable Millie Odhiambo, you say?
No, I was saying actually I've been on record before. The law currently does not allow IBC to do that, but
it will support party nominations.
But I would actually be very happy to have IBC conducting party primaries. Why? Because the truth is parties do not have the capacity. And that is why you see for Jubilee they've decided let us go the easier way out, which is basically what they've done. And I was just telling you that normally we are held to a higher level. If you had done that, you would have had, oh, you are undemocratic, blah, 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 blah. So we choose to go the long route, and then when it doesn't work, again, the same issue will come, oh, you are undemocratic, you've done blah, blah, blah. So we are damned either way. Whether we do it or not, we will continue to be blamed. But I just wanted to say that one of the challenges we have when you are using the party register is that, yes, and what Honorable Chalet is saying, is when you are looking at it from a very technical perspective, especially if you sit from IBC. But when you go to the ground and you go to Kibra and you tell Kibra people, many of whom are ODM supporters, and you tell them that because you are not in the register, you can't vote.
Yeah,
that is where the problem begins. Because many of those people will not have registered, but they are members. Even if you come to Nyanza, the people who have registered, and we went through that exercise, most people will tell you, why would I register? I'm in ODM. What more proof do you need? I am in ODM. So I don't need to register to show that. They tell you, if ukinikata utakuta baba. Na ODM. So they don't need.
Of course, they need to learn something there from IBC, because with the IBC, if you have not registered, you are not going to take part in an election. But I hope that political parties can get a way of handling it. Of course, the nominations for ODM on this Saturday, the 7th of September, never mind that they are supposed to submit the name of the candidate by Monday. That is on the 9th.
Don't worry, we will.
I'm not worried. But we're sure. Let's take a look at what you've been saying on Twitter, Citizen TV Kenya, the hashtag being daybreak, as well as on SMS line 22422 on the various topics that we've been discussing. Let's just take a look at that. Right, we are waiting for the feedback on what you've been saying on SMS line 22422. Of course, we're having challenges loading that. Let me just take a look at what
directly from Twitter.
Engineer Lazaro. Okay, now it's on. Being Charlie, the truth of the matter is that the national government delegated function to counties but retained a large percentage of resources earmarked for such functions. County governments are also guilty of misappropriation of funds and this more a collection of revenue. That is in reference to the conversation about the county's cash crunch.
If we could go to the next one, on SMS 22422, that's our SMS line. Let us know your name and where you're watching from. This one specifically has no name, but you say, look at Machakos. The governor, Dr. Alfred Mutua, has done marvelous with a location given. Recently, he launched a cancer center and research. More money should be allocated to the counties.
The so-called mediation process is not real. It's not real mediation because they do not have a neutral mediator as per the requirement by the mediation standards. Of course, the mediation process being undertaken by the two houses is guided by the Constitution.
All right, this is our last one. Mark my words, those opposed to our funds coming to Wanjiko Camp 2022, water will be shown the door, starting from those in mediation team, all governors, senators, women reps, MPs, Punda Mechoka.
I guess some of them are here. All right, of course, there's so much going on. Engineer Lazaro Kanyambok says that the supremacy war between Senate and National Assembly plus the governors is only showing our leaders don't care the plight of common Mwananchi. The images you're seeing on your screen, we'll deal with them.
This is where we wrap up the conversation so we can create time for the next segment. Gladwell Cheriot, Women Rep for Baringo, thank you so much for being here. Honorable Millie Odhiambo, Super North Member of Parliament, it's always a pleasure. Honorable Gladys Shulei, as always, Women Rep for Uasin Gishu County. And last but least, Agnes Ibarra, Youth Advocate. It's always a pleasure to have a young voice represented right here when we have our female legislators. And